This is Lauren Fogelman at ExpertSportsPerformance.com. Work with highly driven, motivated athletes on being cool, calm, and confident under pressure for consistent winning results. Today's topic is about how athletes face disappointment. At some point, you might have some type of upset, whether it's losing out on a game, someone competing with you for that number one position, or your performance just didn't go as well as expected. What I've noticed is that there's one particular type of athlete who has a harder time facing disappointment than most others. That's the naturally gifted athlete. It's not something that you would expect. You expect that those naturally gifted athletes, they have it easy with everything because performance comes so much easier for them than the ones that have to work harder to really get to the top. But when it comes to winning and defeat and disappointments and being thrown off your game, because they're not used to it, they don't have the mental muscle built up to be able to deal with those harsh realities sometimes that all the other athletes face. In fact, that recently happened to one of my clients who was a 14-year-old going from a small middle school to a larger high school, and suddenly he wasn't the top dog anymore. He had to fight for that number one position to be the star quarterback. And when he did fight for that position, he suddenly found that there were other athletes who were taller than he was, stronger than he was, just better positioned for it. It caught him off guard, and as a result of that, not only did he not get the number one position, he was placed on the roster for the B team. Really turned his whole world around, rocked his world. As a result of that, what happened is that it began to question his confidence, doubt arose, and he began to hesitate when he has opportunities. He didn't know how to deal with the adversity. But the truth is that this is all a coachable situation, but because his new coach didn't have the same relationship with him as his former coach, he didn't have anyone to turn to. Because of the adversity he felt and not having the resilience to rise up to it, he also started to experience not only lowered self-esteem, but also his grades started to drop. It affected other parts of his life also. That's when his parents sought me out to help him with turning that negative into a positive and really learning how to be able to get that new spin on failure. So I want to show you some of the things that we looked at and worked on together so that he was able to turn that negative into a positive. The first thing is we looked at his beliefs because his world was shaken up a little bit. How he saw himself before and was confirmed by teachers, the other students at school, coaches, all of a sudden wasn't a truth anymore. So we had to look at what the underlying beliefs were and recognize that there were some conflicting beliefs challenging themselves within him. And he didn't want to walk away from football, even though he thought about because he didn't have the skills to deal with the adversity. But what he was able to recognize is that he was holding himself back because he saw himself as being the number one. That wasn't the reality anymore, and how to be able to become a better team player was something that we were able to latch onto. So look at where the conflicting beliefs are, and a lot of times there's old beliefs that just don't apply anymore, and you need to be able to let go of those and have some newer ones that are better suited for where you are right now. After beliefs, we looked at the blocks. What was it that he had to have the courage to be able to step up to and overcome? And when you look at blocks, a lot of times there's a whole story that you create around a situation, and that story has a lot of emotion. And as you tell the story of defeat over and over and over again, it reinforces the emotion and it keeps you stuck in your block. It makes it hard to get out of it because of that emotional attachment. For us, we had to look at what his story was about being number one, and all of a sudden he wasn't number one anymore. So where was his value? Where were his strengths? And how to be able to have the courage to find the strengths that he did possess, where his talents were, and turn them into really conscious positive strengths as opposed to things that he took for granted. Because right now he was in a situation where he was going to have to work a little bit harder to be able to reclaim his position and make it back onto the 18 roster. After the blocks, we looked at the breakthroughs. To be honest, he was in a breakdown. He was holding himself back. He was in this pity old me thing. Woe is me. How could this happen to me? Because it was something that totally caught him off guard. And like I said, he didn't have the tools to deal with that adverse situation. He didn't have that resilience, which is a life skill. So this was once again about not only shedding those old beliefs which were blocking him, but about once again learning what his strengths were so he could trust his abilities. And when he was in those pivotal moments during games, he didn't overthink, which would cause him to slow down, hesitate, and then miss out on opportunities. It was about regaining that trust in himself and what he loved to do and what he had practiced so many years doing that he really did know how to do, and let's go ahead and do what was necessary to remove the doubt. The bottom line is that building that mental game muscle helps to transform disappointments into possibilities so that you can really grow as a person and be able to move forward. And when you're in that challenging situation again next time, you have the skills to be able to rise up to it. Because when he really looked at it, he didn't want to quit football. He just wanted to get away from his pain. And it was by getting those skills to deal with the adversity, developing the resilience, that was learning how to take that negative, what was causing him discomfort, recognize what was really going on, turn it into a positive. Once he was able to do that, he began taking initiative on the field during games. He regained his leadership skills, wanting to be able to not just prove to himself what was possible, but be able to have other people see that he could deal with tough things and be able to rise up to the challenge. And the other thing that was really cool is he recognized that he can't take his position for granted. If he really wanted it, then he had to be able to claim it and put the actions behind it and have his values line up. Priceless lessons that he'd be able to take with him beyond football and use for the rest of his life. So what we were able to look at is that almost losing something that he felt so much passion about and he really cared deeply about, he was able to reignite his passion for football. He reclaimed it consciously this time, and he had a purpose now. His purpose was to get the skills necessary to be able to go from the B team onto the 18 roster for his sophomore year. So this is the challenge for you. When you're facing disappointment, what's your first response when faced with disappointment? Do you retreat? Do you pull back and have to think about the plan before you move forward again? Or do you just take action and do what's absolutely necessary? Also, when you think about when you were in a previous situation last time where you were faced with a challenge and you wouldn't take no for an answer, what was it that made it different for you, that made you rise up to the challenge and do what you know what was right, what you were driven to do, as opposed to taking the easy out? The bottom line is challenges happen and you gain qualities, you learn about yourself, become a better person because of rising up to the challenge and overcoming it, than retreating. So think about the challenge that you're facing now. What are the hidden opportunities? How can you take your strengths and rise up to the challenge and gain from the experience, becoming a stronger player than you would have been if you retreated? Go ahead and post a comment. Let me know what you took away from this training. I would love to hear from you. And click the likes button in order to be able to pass it forward. If you're interested in additional training about your mental game so that it improves your performance under pressure, go to my website, expertsportsperformance.com, put your name and email address in the right-hand corner. You'll immediately get the first video of the training series. I look forward to hearing a comment from you, what you took away from this. Press the likes button and get the free training video series at expertsportsperformance.com so you can get your mental game as strong as possible, rising up to the challenge each and every time. My mission is to show you how to stay cool when the heat is on. Lauren Fogelman, expertsportsperformance.com.